Thank you so much, Gabby, for that wonderful introduction.
You're welcome.
And and I have to tell the audience, I love QuickBooks Online. To me, it's really fun, but I'm not really a math person, but I really enjoy this accounting software. And I have some experience now working with various clients here in California. And so I have learned some of the best tips which I hope to pass along to you during this presentation. I hope to teach you how to quickly and accurately complete your accounting tasks in QuickBooks Online. We are going to go over the new tab, the menu, left navigation panel, the gear icon, and some miscellaneous items that I think you'll find helpful as you learn how to use your QuickBooks Online. There is a difference between QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. I prefer QuickBooks Online because you can use it anywhere, anytime. You don't have to have your QuickBooks Desktop system there with you. Especially if you're an accountant, you can access your books from your client's books from online, which is, the comfort of your own home. So I love it. All right, now this is the screen that you will see when you first log into your business account. You'll see the new button. We're going to go over that. The new button, we're going to go over the menu, which is the left navigation panel, and this gear icon, and then this little search, magnifying glass, and then the help button. So first, the new button. See, I clicked on new, and when you click on new, then you'll see invoice, receive, under customers, invoice, receive payment, sales receipt. Under vendors, check, bill, pay bills, and other, bank deposit, transfer, journal entry, pay down, credit card. You'll probably use these more than anything else, especially if you have a service business. I don't really know from my audience out there if you have a service business or you are a reseller or you create things to sell. Not sure. Hopefully, I'll find out at some point during the presentation. So to generate an invoice, you click the new button, click on invoice, and then you fill out the customer's name, you start typing. You could also add a customer here and then add their email there. Your terms, I suppose most people are net 30. And then you enter the invoice date, and then the due date automatically populates based on the terms that you entered. And the product, then you enter the product and service, like prepared 5 meals or something. Description, maybe your hourly rate is, I don't know, $100 an hour. So for quantity, you'd put 1, rate, you'd put 100. And I'm going to show you how to set up your product and services later. And then the amount there, it would auto-populate if you had entered this item in your products and services. All these items would auto-populate, but you can edit any one of them. And then for one thing, tax, really, services are not taxable, but if you sell products, create products to sell, or you're a reseller, then you do charge tax on that. So then next, after you could allow a discount percentage if you wanted. You could change a sales tax rate and make sure you tab through so that the balance due at the end is correct. And you could you could type a message in there if you wanted to attach something. You could, for instance, if you repaired someone's furnace and you charged them for the parts, you could attach the invoice for the parts here. And then if everything's correct, you click Save and Send. Now, you issue invoices if they are going to pay you at a later date. You issue sales receipts if they pay you at the very time you perform the service and they're going to hand you a check. If you do issue an invoice, it's critical to follow these procedures or your accounting can really get messed up. So if you issue an invoice, then you must do new receive payment. And then you enter the customer's name, you enter the payment date, the payment method, if they paid by check or cash, you would enter that there. And if they paid me by check, I would enter the check number. And if you are not going to deposit this check or cash in your bank this very day, you must select the deposit to account as undeposited funds. And there are more procedures you need to follow if you're not going to deposit those proceeds that very day to make sure your accounting records are accurate. So then you enter the amount received there and click Save and Close. Yeah, Save and Close on that one. Here is a sales receipt. Again, this is when on the spot they're going to pay you that very day. But again, if you're not going to deposit that payment in the bank that very day, then you must select undeposited funds for the deposit to account. So you would fill out the fields, choose a customer, their email, the sales receipt date, the payment method, the reference number, like their check, if they pay you by check. And down again, the product and services, the description, the quantity, rate, amount. If it's services, there is no tax. If you're selling goods, then there is tax. Then the subtotal could give them a discount. It's the same format basically as the invoice. Tab through the fields, then save and send, or you could print it out. You could click on print and hand it to them if you happen to carry a portable printer with you and you're at their house or whatever, which is highly unlikely. But you could email it to them too, because your customer probably wants proof of payment. All right, so now we're going to checks. You can write a check on QuickBooks Online. You would do, apparently the checks that fit the printer for QuickBooks Online are very expensive, but you could just enter the information to get it into your books. Or you could just enter it directly from the bank feed, which I'm going to show you a little later, without going through writing this check to get it into your books. But anyway, you choose the vendor here, the bank account you're paying them from, the check number. Then you come down to the category and select what type of expense it is, the amount, and save and close. Or you could click print check if you want. This is new. You click on new to enter a bill. Now you just enter bills if you're not going to pay it right away, or you're going to make a partial payment and you want to track it or something, how much you owe. You would do new and bill. You can also make payments online. There's no charge for 5 and under, but you would need the bank information of this vendor to be able to make a bank transfer, basically. I've been using it. I really like it, but I'm keeping under that 5 minimum. Otherwise, you know, it costs now. So you choose the vendor, the terms. Okay, first of all, you receive the bill from your vendor and you use the bill to enter this information, the terms, the date of the bill, the due date will auto-populate from the terms that you select. Then the expense category down here, then a description, the amount, and then save and close. You don't need to do tax or anything like that. You don't need to segregate that, just the total bill. Then it is critical, if you have entered a bill, you must use the new pay bills to make sure your accounts payable are correct. So click on new, then pay bills. The payment account, checking, payment date, the date of your payment, the check. And then you just check a box here by whatever vendor you're paying and enter the amount and save. I hope I'm not going too quickly for anyone. Usually people complain that I talk too slow. All right, so here's the critical piece here. If you have issued an invoice or sales receipt, recorded the payment but not deposited it the day that you recorded it, this is what you need to complete when you're going to take those checks or cash, what have you, to the bank and deposit it in the bank. You must do new bank deposit. And then you select the account, the date of the deposit, and then you select all whatever customers' payments are being collected. And I would recommend on your deposit slip when you're at the bank, you probably write down the name of the customer plus the amount they paid if they paid by check. I recommend you do it for the cash too, so you have a record of who paid what and, well, who paid how much. Then you would enter the payment method, check or cash, any memo you want, and then the selected payments will total down here and up there actually, and it should equal the amount of your bank deposit on your bank statement and your bank feed. So, another part of it is you could add funds to this deposit. For instance, if you received payment, well, I don't know, it only comes into play for Venmo and credit card payments where the amount deposited in the bank is net of fees. You could use it right here and put a negative amount for the amount, and for the account, choose like a vendor fee or something like that. So the invoice would equal the gross, but your bank deposit would equal the net. So, and then some people take cash back from their deposits and they pocket it, or they put it in petty cash. Well, down here where it says cash back goes to, I typed in owner there and then owner draws came. So if you keep it personally, you would select owner draws. If you would probably have to add a petty cash account to your QuickBooks. I'm not sure. I would Google those procedures, but Here, I'm assuming that this cash that comes up is petty cash, and petty cash is a bank account, considered a bank account, amazingly enough, even though it's not in the bank, it's in your drawer. So then you would save and close there. I didn't get that button. Another important item, I like this way because on your bank feed, your QuickBooks is going to guess at what is. They're going to guess at the category. They'll guess, oh, it's a transfer, you know. But I want to know the exact details to make sure the transfer is correct. So I would do new transfer, and then you select transfer funds from, and you select what account, like say from your checking to your savings. So you'll have money saved to pay your taxes at the end of the year, or even at the, well, no, probably more like your self-employment tax or something. So anyway, you could say transfer funds from business checking, transfer funds to savings, and then you enter the transfer amount, the date, and then any memo that you want, and save and new or save and close. Journal entry. Usually it's just your accountant who does this, year-end adjusting journal entries for cost of goods sold, if you keep manual count of your inventory, or depreciation, things like that. But so usually they're at the end of the month or the end of the year, and you click on new journal entry. And for this example, I entered the end of the year, 12/31/23, journal number 1. The first account is a debit account. Cost of goods sold is, you know, what you paid to purchase something or what it costs you to create something, all those costs. That's called cost of goods sold. And expenses are debits. So I put in $5,000, and I had purchased items for resale, and I did enter them as an asset in inventory asset. And so since I sold them, I record that they're no longer in my inventory. I get that, deduct that cost as cost of goods sold. So inventory asset is the credit, and you'll note at the bottom the debits equal credits, or QuickBooks will not accept your journal entry. And another important one is new pay down credit card. So you put in the name of the credit card, select it from the drop down arrow. And these are accounts that you have linked to your QuickBooks Online, your bank accounts and your credit card accounts. How much did you pay? Enter the amount of your payment, the date of the payment. What did you use to make this payment? So you would select your business checking account there, and then save and close. Now we're going to the menu, where most of the accounting transactions are done in bank transactions, bank feed, I call it. This is what it looks like. And it's all the bank and credit card accounts, business. They should be business, really. You do not want to categorize your personal expenses. It's really takes a lot of time, and it's not worth it. So it's really best to have business, dedicated business bank accounts and credit card accounts. So this first tab for review, it says 25. That is the number of transactions you have to categorize, which really goes fast. It really does, in QuickBooks Online anyway. categorize tab shows the transactions you already categorized. And if you realize, oh no, I made a mistake or whatever, you can undo it, and then it will show back in review for you to recategorize. Excluded, I really don't use that. But like the first time you download your bank, you link your bank account to QuickBooks Online and download your bank transactions, it might ask you to put a date in there. And if you forget what date you downloaded and you download duplicate transactions, or maybe QuickBooks will accidentally or something, although I've never seen that, you can exclude those duplicates under that tab. So here are our 4 review items, and it will put it under, it gives you the date, the description, which is usually the vendor. Oh, and then payee, I don't really pay attention to that. Category or match, you want to know if it's income. Income will show up under received. Expenses show up under spent. And then you'll see action, add. Well, if you've done a sales receipt or an invoice and you've deposited the money to undeposited funds, and then you deposited the check, but you don't see a match over here, you need to fix that right away to keep your books straight. You would just need to do the new bank deposit and just show all the customers checks and cash, whatever that you deposited to that equal that amount you see as a deposit on your bank feed. And then if you refresh your screen, match will show up instead of add. And the same for a bill payment. If you've entered a bill, you've paid the bill, it should show up as a match, not an add. So here, if you, to categorize, you just click on that transaction and the vendor may not show up, but so you select this drop-down arrow, you can select any vendor you have, or you can even add them. And then the account, if you look, this is really good information. Down here, bank detail at the bottom. A1 rental backhoe deposit refund. So you know, I mean, that's what your bank statement says. So you know that's what it is. So that's why I selected this refund allowances account. And then I like to put something in memo. I don't use tag. I use memo though. And then you see this create rule down there. I didn't do a little red arrow to it, but if you have, for instance, a Square account and the net deposit is coming down, you can create a rule for any repetitive item that comes all the time. So you won't even see it on your bank feed. You can, because this rule, you could select that it was automatically added, so you'd never see it, or you can see it, you can create a rule and then it will bring up the correct category for it, and then you could just accept it. But anyway, so these, we're just going to add this refund because we didn't issue anything else, so we'll just add it. Now this shows, okay, so this 11/22/23, this one match found deposit, $868.15. This apparently was done correctly. So the an invoice or a sales receipt was issued. undeposited funds was selected. Then they did new bank deposits, selected all the customers, and that total on that bank deposit equals this bank fee deposit, $868.15. So you see it shows a match. That is correct. And this one, a check, the check for $75. They apparently entered a check into QuickBooks Online, and then when the exact amount hit the bank feed, then QuickBooks said, aha, there's a match. So then you click match to enter that into your records. And then here's a bill payment. Apparently they entered a bill, then used pay bill, and the amount equals the bank feed amount of $114.09. So then you match that. I love it when my bank feed says match, match, match. If you want to know about a certain deposit, you can click on under the menu, you can click on reports and type deposit in there, deposit detail, and this report will come up and it will show you, okay, there's your $868.15 deposit. It will show you all the customer payments that are included in that $868.15 deposit, which is fabulous information to have. People call me in when their books are kind of messy and incorrect, and I try to find and fix all these errors. But if they're done correctly in the beginning, don't have to try to fix anything. So anyway, if you wanted to click on this customer, you could see the actual invoice too. So now this one, 2 matches found. This is another example from the bank feed, 2 matches found. So then you click on view and look at the bank detail first. It shows Pam Sites. Okay, well that answers the riddle right there. Which expense? It's not Books by Bessie. The only expense it could be is $75 Pam Sites. But QuickBooks showed you there was more than one match because of the amount $75. So then you would just match. Checks, yeah, one was a check and the other one was a bill payment, both in the amount of $75. So you would select the correct one and then click match. This example is for a split payment. You can categorize one payment in more than one account. For instance, this is $1,200, A1 rental. Now this bank detail says A1 rental, backhoe rental, but you happen to know that was $800 for the rental, but you damaged the equipment while you had it, so 400 of the 1,200 is for repair. You would click on split and you would select the expense category of equipment rental for $800 and the category maintenance and repairs for repair of the backhoe for $400. And then note the total is the same. Of course, QuickBooks wouldn't accept it if it wasn't the same. And then you click apply and accept. Now we will go to reports, which is how you know how you're doing. And you can also find errors quickly this way too, or fix errors quickly by looking at reports. But the main business reports are balance sheet and profit and loss. But some people like to see statement of cash flows too. Then you could click on these reports to find out who owes you. Accounts receivable, customer balance, your invoices and received payments. That's nice. Probably helpful in resolving any bank deposit that doesn't have match indicated. Then sales and customers, your customer contact list, deposit detail, etc., products and services list, what you owe, your accounts payable, your bill payment list, bills and applied payments, unpaid bills. So those would be helpful. Expenses and vendors. Check detail, you might like to see that. Sales tax. I didn't really go into sales tax, but if you do set up sales tax in QuickBooks Online, I would select automatic and let QuickBooks calculate it for you. But anyway, there's reports here if you need that to prepare and file your sales tax return as the state of California. So now we're going into the gear icon. And we're going to discuss chart of accounts, products and services, reconcile. All of which are very important. We're just touching on just the basic important function in QuickBooks Online to get you going. So chart of accounts, note that this says you're using 44 of 250 accounts. So you have a lot more power here that you could access if you so choose. So under checking, if you click on view register and it will show you every single transaction in that register. So I selected the checking account and it shows it all, the date. You can click on date and it will change it to oldest to newest, or this one shows newest to oldest. The payment, you can click on these, you could edit these. This is a way to correct mistakes. Shows you the balance. If you want to add a new account, in the chart of accounts, you would click on new. And this screen will pop up, new account. So you see your options are income, expenses, banks, assets, credit cards, liabilities, equity. These are all the parts of a balance sheet report. But if you linked a bank or credit card to QuickBooks Online, you're not going to add a bank account or a credit card this way. The only one you would add this way is petty cash. And so that is a bank account. But I would Google, I'll probably say this again. If I don't know how to do something in QuickBooks Online, I just Google my question and you'll get lots of information. And sift through it and you'll find the correct. And if you absolutely cannot find the correct answer, then that's when you click the help button. But anyway, so here's a drop down arrow. It starts out at income and goes through the whole option, all the options there. But I selected expenses, and then the tax form section, that's your category, your expense category, like advertising, auto, rent, repairs and maintenance. If you just click on that down arrow, it will show you all those categories. I selected advertising because that really is important to do for your business. So I clicked advertising there, then I typed in advertising, then description, advertising expense. I would suggest having your account name short, to, enough so you know what it is, because on that bank feed, which is where you do most of your categorization, there's a limited amount of space in there, and you want to be able to see at a glance if it's an income or an expense account. So keep it kind of short so you'll be able to see the whole title in that box. And then click save, and you've got that new account. Products and services. If you're just starting out and you want to add your products and services, I would suggest doing it this way. Then you have more time. You're not in the middle of preparing your invoice without having this already ready, so it would auto-populate on your invoice. So to add a new product or service, you would click on new. And these will be your choices: inventory, non-inventory, service, or bundle. And inventory, unless you have very expensive QuickBooks Online, you're not going to use inventory. Non-inventory would be related to inventory, but it would be nuts and bolts that you don't have to keep track of. You could also just deduct it as a supplies expense. But service is what for me, for instance, I have consulting, tax preparation, or accounting as my service, and that's not subject to sales tax. So you would add the name there, the category, accounting or tax, whatever, and check, I sell this product service to my customers. Sales price, you could put your rate in there. Important to put your income account, because some businesses want to track, like hunting and fishing. I have this one, or events or hunting and fishing. And so if you want to be able to track your income and expenses, you need to denote what income account it is properly, because what you put on your invoice and your sales receipt dictates what income account is recorded in. And down here, sales tax, see, the default is taxable standard rate, but services are not taxable. So you would click on edit sales tax. I like this feature too. This pops up. For instance, this person is a wine distributor, and there is alcohol on here, which is taxed at a different rate. So you would select your type of business here. For services, you would select personal services, and you would come down here and click non-taxable. Now we're going into the gear reconcile process, and this is critical for businesses. This is what they usually don't do, and they haven't done for maybe years. And this is one way to stay on top of accurate books, is to reconcile your accounts at the end of every month. If you have a lot, end of every month, or it could be done every 6 months or every year, just depends on how many transactions you have. But you've got to save your statements, save your bank and credit card statements. So what you do is you get your bank or credit card statement, and you match your books, your QuickBooks, to your bank statement. So if you click on gear and reconcile, then you will get this screen. People think it might be hard, and It's not hard 95% of the time. QuickBooks will practically do it for you. So anyway, what you need to do is check. See, this says last statement ending date 9/30/23. So that means you have to reconcile the October statement. So check your beginning balance. This must be correct, or you've got to call support to help fix this. Beginning balance, note 355455. Here's an abbreviated bank statement. Beginning balance 355455. Correct. It's correct. Note the ending balance 375634. 375634. That's all you have to enter, and the ending date, which is already October 31st, 2023, or whatever it is. I was lucky enough to get the end of the month ending date. Some people, it might be the middle of the month or something, depending on your bank. Then click. Oh, I wanted to show you too, history by account up here in the right-hand corner. That is where all your reconciliations are. If you want to print one, you would click there and select the month that you want to print. If you need to correct a prior month, you would click on history, and then you would undo every single month that was after the month that error was made. You'd have to undo them all and re-reconcile, and you would be able to do that by accessing history by account, but we won't go into that today. So click on Start Reconciling. There's the bank statement I'm trying to reconcile to. And see, here is the beginning balance that matches the bank statement. Ending balance matches the bank statement. And QuickBooks itself checked all these. So that's what I mean. It practically does it for you. But if you have to undo a month's reconciliation, this may or may not be checked. And then you just need to match each one to your bank statement by checking it until you get to zero difference. And note this payment tab, deposit tabs. This, I just noticed this recently, and this makes it really fast because I don't know about you, but my bank statements, one section is deposits and another section is the expenses. And so if you want to just look at payments, you would click payments. It will show you all your payments in date order. You can just go right down your bank statement and checking them off. And then you click on deposits. It has all your deposits in date order. You just check those off. And another thing I wanted to bring to your attention was the payments up here total $240.71. My bank statement, see, it shows here $240.71. And note the deposits are $442.50. That's what it shows here, $442.50. So everything matches my bank statement perfectly. And like I said, 95% of the time it will. 5% of the time, you might have to call support. Or they call you. That's my favorite method, callback, the callback method. But anyway, so if when you have zero difference, you click Finish Now. You'll get this screen. You reconcile this account. You could attach the bank statement if you wanted to, if you've downloaded it. But if you don't want to, that's fine. Click Done. Now we're going to go over the search feature. If you want to find something, it's the magnifying glass icon up there. I like to do advanced search. You can filter the date. You can filter the transaction type. You could put a check number in. If you say, who did I pay? And you entered it in QuickBooks, you could just put the check number in if you can't remember. Or you could just put an amount in and return, and it will find the amount. You could just, the easiest thing to do is just put in the amount you're looking for and it will find it. Click on help. I call QuickBooks support probably once a day, not sure. This is a screen that will come up if you click on the help icon. I click on, after I've Googled it for the answer, if I can't find a satisfactory answer or I'm just really not sure, click contact us. And then select using QuickBooks, reconcile accounts, connect to bank, whatever you need help with. Click that section. Then my favorite, callback. Click callback. They will call you, I'd say 99% of the time in 5 minutes, and you don't have to be on hold. You don't have to try to communicate with someone on the chat line. I did the chat the other day. I don't like the chat line I like to talk with a person, and then they can access your screen. You give them permission to access your system, and they can look at everything and they can really help you quickly. So call back, click on have us call you. We'll call you in about 5 minutes. This screen will come up next. Click on get a call. And then it would be nice if you would complete the customer survey if you have time, if they were able to help you satisfactorily, because they are rated, their performance reviews are rated on their customer reviews. So if they're really helpful to me, I will take the time to fill out that customer review. But I am semi-retired, so if you're working full-time, you don't have time, that's totally fine in my opinion. So in summary, it's important to issue invoices or sales receipts to have a record of your income. And you must do the receive payment for payments on invoices. This is another critical one here. If you do not deposit the funds into your business bank account the day you enter the sales receipt or invoice payment, you must select undeposited funds for the deposit to account. If you have deposited the payment into the undeposited funds account, it's critical to do new bank deposit, identifying all the payments included in deposit the day you deposited the payments for a match to show on your bank feed, and your accounts receivable and undeposited funds account balances to be correct. If your income is downloading from Square or other online sales software into QuickBooks Online, you may categorize and add the income in your bank feed. You could, if you're very clever, but it would, you'd have to print the report from Square. So to know, and the fees and everything, to know how much of that downloaded amount is sales tax, because Square does collect sales tax for you. And I don't know, I mean, maybe it even pays, maybe one of those pays your sales tax over for you. I'm not sure, but I know for the wine merchant, sales tax would be collected and downloaded with her net income after fees were deducted. So she had to file the sales tax return and pay the sales tax herself. Another critical item, you must reconcile your bank and credit card statements with your QuickBooks Online monthly to make sure the beginning and ending balances and all the transactions match. If you enter bills, you must use new pay bills to pay the bills. Otherwise, you will not be able to match the transaction on the bank feed, and your accounts payable balance will be incorrect. So use the search function to find a transaction. Do a Google search to find out how to perform a transaction in QBO. And if the steps don't make sense or you can't find an answer, use the help feature. Well, I've gone through this rather quickly. Does anyone have any questions out there? You could raise your hand maybe, and Gabrielle will tell me, or maybe she's monitoring chat and she can tell me.
Yes,
I'll try to answer.
I sure can. Or if they feel free, they can feel free to unmute the mics as well, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Angela, go right ahead.
Hi there. Thank you so much. Actually, I have a fan over my head. Let me turn that off.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. There's one function that didn't come up today that I struggle with, and I was hoping would be addressed. And that is taking a photograph from your phone of your expenses while you're on the road and then uploading it. And I will tell you, I've tried 3 or 4 times. I know I'm new at this, and it doesn't seem to go through correctly. But I've heard that all the hip, young, and relevant people are doing it, and it's working great for them. So will you talk a little bit about this function where you can upload, like, let's say you buy office supplies while you're out of town. Now you've got this little paper receipt that you used to lose all the time. You're supposed to take a photo of it, and it's supposed to integrate with the system.
Well, I think you need to click receipt and upload it that way. I mean, you're talking about a mobile app. I did not go over the mobile app, but
Okay. I'll keep working on it.
well, you can do it, but you have to, let's see, where is it? Gear. I know I saw a receipt somewhere. You would click on
Encouragement. I'll
receipt.
keep on that.
Yeah, why don't you know what? That's where you could Google that question and follow those procedures. I'm sorry, I don't know your answer, but I'd have to do, I'd have to do a presentation on the mobile app to answer that because I don't use it. Receipts, see this here on the bank feed. If you downloaded that receipt to your computer, I guess you would click on receipt. And then, well, but I don't have it in here, receipt. And then you would browse for it and then you'd upload it that way. But I know it's different on the mobile app, which I don't use. I'm not that busy. Sorry about that, Angela. Any other questions?
Yes, we have a question in the chat from Sylvia. Her question is, what is the cost for QuickBooks Online? Does it differ for nonprofit? And does the cost include interface with bank?
Well, the bank, for one thing, must allow the interface. QuickBooks, if the bank allows it, then it can interface with QuickBooks Online. If someone went through me, I get a 30% discount for 1 year. It used to be more than that. to for their QuickBooks Online, but it can get pretty pricey. The only QuickBooks Online that hasn't gone up, it's still $15 a month, is $15 for QuickBooks Self-Employed a month, but it doesn't do, that's not what I went over. This would be Simple Start. And it varies. It could be $30. I think it starts out now at $30 for QuickBooks Online. If you just Googled it, it will come up with the current pricing. And I think the lowest now is $30 a month. That's why I do teach Wave too, which is not as good as QuickBooks, but it is free.
Sylvia, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. And then to get the price through you, Denise, do we contact you?
Yes, they would need to contact me. And then I would need to be their accountant, but I wouldn't need to do their accounting. I could be able to have the ability to look at their books, but they don't have to add me as a user. So, and I wouldn't have to do their accounting, but I would be able to look at their books on my system and advise them. But yeah, they would need to go through me. So Simple Start, it looks like normally it's 30, but you always get a break for the first introductory period. Yeah, that's the only pricing I can find right now on my phone. So yeah, if you contact me, you're interested in me helping you, I am helpful. I used to be an MCSC consultant, but I just wanted to do more my own business and charge my own fees.
Sure.
And be able to be people's accountant and sell them, you know, a cheaper subscription for a year at least, 30% off. So
Thank you.
I'll give my contact information at the end of the presentation.
Okay. And then we have one last question from Tim. Our business is a boutique hotel. Are room fees considered services or products? And is there an ability to separate out transient occupancy tax and other taxes for a category?
Yes, it is possible. I know you have to charge tax. So you would go to the menu, scroll down to taxes and select tax, and then set it up there on the sales tax menu. And you should be able to. But you could always call QuickBooks. I mean, to have them call you back and help you set that up.